Hello and welcome back to the bar. In this episode, we're continuing with the series of looking at how you make the complex simple. And what I want to do over the next 3 or 4 weeks is look at some very specific disciplines that sit within the PMO that I see time and time again with my clients. The first one, which all of you will recognize, I have no doubt, is to do with capacity versus demand and your resource planning. Now, I have been into I don't know how many businesses in the last 30 years that have come to me and said, do you have a tool that will help us do our capacity and demand planning? And there's plenty of tools out there, as most of you know. But the issue there is how you keep it simple enough that you get a picture that actually is credible of your capacity versus your demand without creating an industry of input and complexity to the input that is incredibly time consuming and often doesn't actually produce a more credible result than just a conversation. And the reason for that I see is that there are 4 key areas with which you have to look at the resource capacity in order to get anything sensible. So the first one is, what is their BAU capacity? How much of their capacity is being taken up on BAU? The second one is how much of their capacity is being taken up on existing projects that are live. The third one is how much of their capacity is going to be taken up on projects that are in the pipeline that are that are coming through, so our forecast. And then the fourth one is, when are they going to be on holiday, and therefore when is their capacity going to be reduced in that holiday period? Now, that on its own, for one person or 2 people, is an awful lot to gather and to get correct. And it's going to move all the time because those BAU requirements, those project requirements change all the time. Keeping that sort of up to date across potentially sort of tens of people or hundreds of people is almost impossible. It just becomes a huge industry and it becomes very complex. And actually, one of the things we look at doing is how do you make that process generate a credible conversation, which is all you're looking to do. You're only looking to generate a credible leadership conversation about whether we have enough capacity to deliver the demand across the business of activities that we're doing. And what we use is, we've started to use more and more, is a sort of order of magnitude view of resources, capacity and demand. Much, much less taxing to actually maintain on a regular basis. It will not be perfect. It is not going to tell you when Joe is, every single time, exactly how many days Joe has got available. But my challenge would be, my provocation would be, the really detailed module is so impossible to keep going and keep up to date. And also the input is still relying on good quality input in all those 4 areas. And often that's just not the case. And so you end up with a discussion that's not credible. And my view is, keep it as simple as you can. Simplify that module